And we are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. Today, the Keeg Talks Madam Web, the new Sony verse spider related movie. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and if you can watch us, see us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. And if you're watching us live, you can see who our guests are today. If you can't see them, that means you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Let me introduce them for the podcast viewers out there. We got returning guest, but it has been a while. We got Amy Newman, Amy N. Newman.
You could just say Amy Newman.
Amy N. Newman. Do people do that?
What? Call
you Amy N. Newman?
Literally never.
So, okay, good to know that I'm the first. I'm a trendsetter, a trailblazer. Amy, I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's nice I feel like I did this a bunch, during the pandemic. So it's exciting to be here and know I can close my laptop and leave my home. That's a real treat for me.
Oh, I was like, don't close
not
your
now,
laptop
not in the
during the show. I don't think that changed.
I'll stay for the time.
She's become such a diva, so hard to work with.
But knowing when this is done in a few hours,
okay.
If I want to go out into the world, I can, and that's
I feel like during the pandemic you were held hostage by the podcast, but now you have so many more options. You could leave in the middle of the podcast and have somewhere to go. So I'm glad you're
thinking
here.
about that option, but now it's gonna be all I'm thinking about.
Well, here's to keeping this interesting enough that we keep your attention.
No promises.
We also have a new guest. We got Kris Carr. Both Kris and Amy are hosts of the Two Filthy Casuals podcast. Kris, how's it going?
Doing well. Having a nice little Saturday. Having a nice time. Hanging out in my booth. Hanging out in my coffin.
You do have a really nice booth.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is where all the magic happens. In that I mean voiceover, nothing sexual. Sometimes sexual, I guess, if it's a voiceover.
Huh.
Or if we're filming the podcast.
Or if we're doing the podcast. If Amy's in here, then it's
I'll put my hand
sexual.
on your knee a couple times. Just feel out the vibe.
It's comforting, but so sexy.
How do you guys have a podcast and split the hosting? You guys are co-hosts on the podcast. And what's it like working together? This has nothing to do with Madam Web. Or does it? I don't know.
We'll try to tie it in for you. We do hate each other. That keeps things really kind of sexy and interesting.
It's spicy.
So do Hall & Oates. So
yeah.
We are Chris, the Hall & Oates of podcasters.
We get that a lot. Chris will be taking me to court later this year. We're actually in talks. If you've ever seen Feud, we are in talks for the next season.
Mm-hmm. In talks and intoxicated.
Well,
often.
I'm glad I have both of you. Also, you guys have crazy weird energy, which really matches this episode.
I don't know.
I'm gonna put that under my special skills on my resume.
Crazy weird energy.
Crazy weird energy.
I don't know if I love matching the energy of this movie, but we'll explore it.
Let's get into it. We got people out there on Twitch or on YouTube. Let us know what you guys thought about the movie. Let us know in the chat if there's things
what was
you
your
want to
favorite
talk
part?
About. Yeah, what was your favorite part?
Why was it when it was
part
over?
That was super riveting. Here's the thing about the Keeg and Keeg related podcasts is that I like to not be just this negative, hateful podcast. On some episodes, it is tough. I'll be honest. Previously, the last worst movie that I saw was The Flash. The absolute worst was The Flash. Have either of you guys seen The Flash?
Yes.
I have not had the pleasure.
It's pretty bad. And I went into it, I'm going to be very honest, and if anyone is familiar with me, I went into it going, I don't think this is going to be a good movie. The Ezra Miller of it all, outside of it just didn't look good to me. Yeah. And then to have DC just kind of keep doubling down on, oh no, these were artistic choices. We definitely wanted the Speed Force to look like it was not rendered CGI. We wanted it to have these moments. It was a movie that didn't feel like it knew what it wanted to be, and also it was a movie that was coming at the end of the DCU. or I should say the DCEU.
Yeah.
So it just felt so skippable.
Yeah.
I do respect that move though, because I do that after every audition. Like, actually, being bad was the character choice.
Yeah.
Did you know?
It's
So
kind of
that-
how I am with when I play basketball. I don't play basketball often enough to be worthwhile on the court at all. I play
every time you throw the ball, you just yell, "That was a bit."
Yeah, well, kind of. It's like if I miss, I was meant to do that. It was a pass. It was carefully calculated, you know? That's how the Flash was.
Yeah.
Shout out to 50 Shades of Tay on Twitch, saying, "Hi,
Hey,
Chris and Amy. The girls wouldn't stop talking about Madam Web yesterday. Amy said it was her favorite film since Dick's the Musical."
And I don't say that lightly. That's unironic. I love that fucking movie.
I chose not to see Dick's the Musical.
I have seen it. I don't want to admit this. Upwards of 15 times. It is my favorite movie.
Okay, cool. Different strokes for different folks.
You never even saw
I
it.
never saw it. But have you seen Morbius, Amy?
No.
Okay. Best movie of the year.
How dare. I mean, compared to Madam Web, but no.
Oof. Did either of you know anything about Madam Web before this movie came out?
I did. Did you, Amy?
Really? When we got, spoiler alert, I guess, to the end and she was blind and in the wheelchair, I kind of went, oh, no, yes, I did know that that was a part of her character, but completely forgot because they so didn't bother to do any of that for the movie, the actual movie part of the movie. So no, I was coming in fairly, I don't want to say fairly blind. Now that feels like not the right word choice. I was coming in fairly, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
We'll just end there.
That is the funny thing about Sony and their strategy right now. Chris, you said you knew about Madam Web?
Yeah, Spider-Man was pretty much my jam as a kid, and it's one of my favorite fandoms still. I'm a big Marvel person, and Spider-Man's the one I kind of gravitate towards. Kind of like you with X-Men, right? And so I first knew Madam Web because of the animated series from '94, and that's when I first got to see her when Joan Lee was voicing her and everything, Stan Lee's wife. And then I got into the comics. And for a Marvel character, I know 1980 sounds like quite a while ago, but in terms of Marvel, like, that's a fairly new character, and she's definitely not somebody I think is a mainstream character. So like, your idea of strategy here, I think strategy is such a generous word for what Sony is doing, because they've made amazing Spider-Man movies before. They made Spider-Verse movies. They're PlayStation games. Like, I would argue the PlayStation Spider-Man game is probably one of the best Spider-Man stories ever.
We're talking the current, like the modern, the recent ones, right?
Yeah. But what they're doing with these tertiary characters and the kind of rogues gallery, if you will, or just like omniscient characters that exist in this world, I don't know, like the anti-heroes and stuff like the Morbius, I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Really quick, just to tease the audience, what would we rate this movie out of 10? With minimal explanation if you need it. Just to tease them at the start of this episode.
2.
Am I grading it solely on its actual merit on a movie, or can I include points for the fact that I had a wonderful time watching? Because it was so fucking weird.
You can grade.
Can I curse here? I forget.
What'd you say?
Can I curse here? I forget.
You can curse. Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh no, not that one.
Oh no.
All the other ones.
You can only say the C word.
Yes.
Okay, that should work. 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
My knee-jerk reaction was to say 3 out of 10, but also why would I give it 3 out of 10? Maybe just because, like, I don't know how many movies are lower than that. Like, did I feel like throwing up afterwards? No.
That was their pull quote on the poster.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just say 3 out of 10 just to be whatever.
I want to give it this. Did it feel like it was made by people who knew what movies were and how to make them? Absolutely not. But was I bored? No.
I was
not bored, and I get
bored.
bored pretty fast at superhero movies. Like if they're not clicking for me, they can be fantastic. I'm not anti superhero movie. So sorry. I drank a lot of milk and coffee for some fucking reason. Time to talk. But I think it was just so weird and bad that I never got bored because I was just like, where are we? What is this?
Yeah.
What's happening here? So I think that's why I gave it a 4.
Okay.
I didn't have a bad time watching it. The movie was bad, but I did not have a bad time.
Kris, you were bored with this movie?
I was bored. I think if I had watched this movie and dropped an edible, I would have had a great time. But I say this as I don't expect a comic book movie to be comic book accurate. I don't need to go into it and be like, well, actually, and be right the whole time. I love when they change stuff up. Captain Marvel, the way they kind of changed what happens with the Skrulls. My mind was blown. I was so excited about it. This just points for making it feel like it was a superhero movie made in 2003, not just existing in 2003. But I've never seen a movie where I've gone, yeah, I feel like not talking would have really helped this. There were just so many moments of dialogue where I went, oh, if they just did not have her speak, this scene could have been salvageable.
I mean, like a Charlie Chaplin movie?
Not quite. Just, if they had pared down a bunch of that dialogue, Dakota Johnson just talking to herself constantly while watching Christmas Carol or speaking to her cat about her mom and the Amazon, all of those moments, I didn't find them charming or endearing. It was
you wouldn't just randomly be like, the bird didn't die. You wouldn't. That's not how you.
I do narrate my life constantly,
sure,
but.
Why was she watching A Christmas Carol? It was not Christmas. It was not Christmas.
And why would you watch that Christmas Carol when the Muppet Christmas Carol exists?
Well, sure.
Foolish.
They only have the rights to that, right? I guess.
Sure.
But this movie seems like it was set in 2003, but so does Venom. Like the movie Venom, right? It seemed like it was just a 2003 superhero action movie.
Now, I did see people saying, and this is all kind of hearsay I read online, so correct me if it is wrong, but in the timeline, because Peter Parker, though we will never say his name, is born during this movie. Schmeeder Schmarker is born.
Yes.
And someone pointed out in the Sony Spider-Man, in this timeline, he should have been born in 2001. And I saw people theorizing that they just said it a little later. So people weren't going, why didn't you stop 9/11? That you just avoided that plot point of but did she know? She lives in New York. Did she know?
She still couldn't control her powers, Amy.
That is the theory I saw. It could be horseshit, but I kind of buy that they were like, if we put it in 2001 in New York, it's just gonna feel too. It's gonna be on people's minds.
Wait, hold on though. I'm doing math. So if he was born in 2003, and then we witnessed Peter Parker, he was also blipped out. So the timeline currently actually has a 5-year gap. So this does make sense for him to still be a recent high school graduate.
So if he's born in 2003 and it's 2024, then he'd be 21. But minus 5, he'd still be in high school. So yeah, 2001, right?
But they then moved the timeline forward in Marvel, didn't they? Where it's now when we watch Endgame, it's set in 2025. Is that correct?
No, I think we're in 20. It's 2018. Then the blip, 2019. I think 2024.
Superheroes end math. I'm so fucked in this conversation.
I think 2024 is when people get blipped back.
Yeah. So it ends in 2023. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but the point being is, I think you're right. 2001 would be when Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
I believe that I saw a couple people throwing around that canonically should have been the year.
I mean, maybe this takes place in like September 12th. You know?
I mean, they actively say 2003.
Yeah.
Right. No, I know. They could have. I'm just set it a couple days after September 11th, and
and maybe in the 616, 9/11 didn't happen. Maybe in this multiverse.
It did. Someone pointed out there was something at like their station that seemed to be a subtle reference to it.
Okay.
Also, did anyone just feel sad inside? Because I was like, oh, 2003. Oh, it's like a period piece. Oh, this was like in the 70s when they made Grease set in the 50s. And then I felt real bad for a while.
Yeah. And the music they would play, but it wasn't period accurate. Like,
was it not?
Well, okay, so Toxic
came out. I saw people talking about this too. Toxic came out in 2003, but wasn't released as a single till 2004. So they could have played it, though it's unlikely that it would have been on the radio. Also, I love that the radio announcer is like, this is going to be a big hit. Like, yeah, it was a fucking Britney Spears song in 2003. Why are we talking about her like she's some up-and-coming artist?
It's like the Back to the Future thing. Like,
your kids are going to love it.
Yeah. Okay.
I might be jumping ahead here, and apologies if I am, but also, so she ran through the woods in the time it took for Toxic to start and end.
Yeah.
But then she drove a vehicle.
It takes longer.
And it takes longer?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
What? Huh?
But I guess she got stuck behind the truck? Was that kind of the...
But she's going like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in a slow-moving car, you're still moving exponentially faster than you could walk.
There's a lot of weird things with this movie. Like, I don't know. Where do I start? I mean, we're in the thick of things. How long does it take for her to realize her powers work? Like, there were like 10 times, like her power hit 10 times, and then she was still like, huh? What?
Sometimes it just takes a pigeon.
What? But like, it kept going.
You are putting way too much acting in that. Give it a little more dead-eyed, a little more.
Oh, it didn't die. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do we even? Okay, so let's talk about the acting in this movie, because you brought it up, Amy, not me. So
it's bad.
It's bad.
It's real bad. It's cringy bad.
Are you guys fans of Dakota Johnson?
No.
Is anyone?
I don't know. I don't know.
I like her weird deadpan sense of humor.
Yeah, I like her unhinged interviews.
But I don't care for her as an actress.
Same.
Because she's just like a weird person, like, but she's not a good actress. Is that kind of like?
No, granted, I have not seen the entire Dakota Johnson filmography. I have heard there are films she actually shines in, so maybe she's better when given good material and direction.
What movies would that be?
She's all right in Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah, I've heard that one's good. Is she in, what is it, Suspiria? People have said she's pretty good in.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but again, there is also it could be a little bit because what she did, 50 Shades of Grey was her big breakout. And I do feel like, I mean, it's literally based loosely on the Twilight characters. And I feel like we may be seeing a similar thing to what happened to Kristen Stewart of, yeah, you come across as a blank wall of a character. That's also how this character is written and directed. So what do you do with that?
The hope is that she has like a Kristen Stewart emergence of then, oh my gosh, what an incredible actress.
Yeah, she's actually great. Yeah.
I want everyone to do well. I just haven't seen that. And it also could be that I'm not a particular fan of the types of movies she's done.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where I stand with her without also being like too mean or too unfair, given that I haven't seen, some of the better movies that you guys are saying. But one of my litmus tests for actors is SNL. I watch SNL. Like, I watch every episode. It's something I do with my mom. But like, very interesting thing is like seeing certain actors really shine, and like certain up and coming actors like do really well, and I'm like, oh, like they are very talented. Jessica Chastain was really good on SNL. Because Jessica Chastain is Jessica Chastain, and I love her.
She's incredible.
I love her so much. Where was she in this movie?
Why wasn't she Madam Web? Because she went, no, thank you.
Yeah.
She already did her own bad superhero movie, though.
I mean, Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even in that, I was still like,
that was more enjoyable than this.
Yeah. What was I saying? Where was I?
SNL.
SNL. Dakota Johnson was horrible on SNL. She was the worst.
When even if you get bad sketches or you're not quite a natural fit, I feel like you can usually at least tell when people are trying. And I think that's what rubs me the wrong way about Dakota Johnson. And I'm not saying she's not trying. I'm saying her general energy gives a very phoned in vibe. And I think that's really what bugged me with this movie, of not even, oh, you're going for it, it's just not working. And again, this could have been bad writing, this could have been bad direction, it could have been any number of things, but it constantly just kind of felt like she was half there.
Yeah.
Being a half there is generous.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be a takedown piece of Dakota Johnson. I just don't like Dakota Johnson. I don't think she's good. I also think she's a Nepo baby. And I feel like throwing a multi-million-dollar blockbuster at an untalented Nepo baby, like, other people don't get those opportunities.
And here's the thing, there are Nepo babies. My thing with Nepo babies is always, it got your foot in the door,
right? Which
is one of the hardest things to do in this industry. Some Nepo babies take that opportunity and run with it and shine and are fantastic. There are certainly people with that background where I go, yeah, I don't know if you would have gotten that first inciting incident opportunity had you not had your last name, but you're good, but you're showing up and you're doing the work. And she definitely does fall into that. I don't know if this would have happened for you otherwise.
Sure. Well, especially when you have the comparison of people like, a Maya Hawke or a Wyatt Russell, or these really fabulous actors who, when they do get that big break and they have that pivotal role, you go, oh, okay, maybe acting could be genetic. You are incredibly talented and you've put in the work. And I think to your point too, Amy, like, if you have that opportunity, why would you squander it? And why wouldn't you make sure everyone knows how much you earned it?
It's because it doesn't really matter, because if they fail, they're still fine, right?
That's true.
Who's your favorite Nepo baby? Anyone have a favorite?
I love Wyatt Russell. I love Jamie Lee Curtis.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie Fisher, right?
Carrie Fisher, for sure.
Liza Minnelli. I'm going to go Liza.
Minnelli. Oh, good pick.
Oh, okay. Now I have to look up famous Nepo babies. And like,
I do like Maya Hawke too. I will agree with that.
Yeah. Maya Hawke, great. I like John David Washington.
Love him.
Like, have you guys seen The Creator?
It's so good.
Definitely underrated.
It was. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh. Another Nepo baby was in this is Emma Roberts.
Yes.
Who doesn't
when she showed up, I was like, what? Oh yeah, I forgot you were in this.
Every time it cut to her, it was such an odd nothing of a part that every time it cut to her, I kind of did that. That is Emma Roberts, right? I felt a little crazy about it, of just like, is Is that like an actress who looks like her, or is that her? Because this feels like such strange casting.
So supposedly, okay, so this movie went through a lot of revisions, rewrites, reshoots, all that stuff, which you can see. I mean, we'll get to it with the villain. There was rumors that this movie was going to be set in the 90s before they filmed, and then they did rewrites or whatever on that. But then the director is quoted as saying that she was only ever given the 2003 script. S.J. Clarkson is the director. And she said, yeah, that was the only script she was given. So, that's all she can say. But the rumor was that the movie was supposed to be set in the 90s to have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man be born. And then, which is funny that Andrew Garfield would have been born in the 90s because the actor is clearly older than me. And I don't know, whatever. But that they changed it to be Tom Holland being born in the 2000s. But they went through major rewrites and reshoots. Was that evident?
Absolutely. This whole thing reeks of just spaghetti at the wall. Of just, I don't know, maybe this will happen.
When I've heard some of that and some of those last minute changes are why the entire villain's dialogue looks the way it does. Because they had to ADR and replace so much of it in post to shift the story they were telling. Also, Zosia Mamet, another Nepo baby, playing the assistant.
Oh, David Mamet's daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real fun moment to lean over to my husband and go, that's David Mamet's daughter. And he was like, why? Why is she here?
Why is she here?
Do you guys watch Girls? I never watched Girls.
I tried like one episode. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this should be for me, but it's not.
Same.
Yeah.
I had that same reaction.
I didn't watch it at all because I was like, this is obviously not for me. Yeah. And then I went over and watched Insecure, which might not also be for me, but it's closer for me than Girls is.
I need to try Insecure again because I tried to watch it on a plane and there was a lot more nudity than I've felt emotionally prepared for. I was like, oh God. There's just that instant moment on a plane where you're like, I'm not a pervert. I am, but not, this is irrelevant.
But you just lean over to your seatmate and go, hey,
thoughts? I just hit the little call button when the flight attendant comes over. Just go, look.
Also, it's beautifully lit too. So it's not like it's in Insecure, it's obscured in the shadows. It's like, no.
It was immediate. There was a lot of it.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? We're going to try this in the privacy of our own home.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's traumatized on that flight. And I'm not anti-nudity and things. I'm just anti-nudity when everyone else on the plane because it immediately feels like everyone's staring at your screen.
Well, first you have to take like a poll from the people around you. You go, hey, how do you guys feel about nudity? Just ask everybody around you and then, get a survey.
Wink when you say it. Just
yeah.
How do you feel about nudity?
With
you want some pretzels?
The villain.
Want to share this blanket? Those are all the things I can think of that are on an airplane. Scene.
Can you do you need the thing up or thing down? The armrest.
I mean, I'll just put it down and have a little privacy. You know what I'm saying?
The armrest up?
You mind if I?
Can
I put this on your tray? Can I put my mini bottle on your tray table?
How about we just spread out?
I have had people do that though, where they start using my tray table.
What?
Oh yeah. On one of my last flights, the guy next to me was so entitled and would just he wanted to put his laptop out and he just put his stuff on my tray table and I went, what? And he was like, I need space. And I was like, you just took my, we're not in a relationship of any kind, sir. I don't know you from anybody. It was a very uncomfortable flight. Made me very upset. And I was so excited because I gotten upgraded. And so I was like, this is going to be magical. And it wasn't. Yeah. It was just rude and pushy.
I do love when people accidentally fall asleep on your shoulder on planes. Good night.
I sat next to
It feels like they trust me. It feels like I have a calming energy.
Is this for real?
What?
Like somebody actually fell asleep on you?
I mean, when people are kind of doing the over you
Okay, yeah.
And it
I
just
hate
always feels
it.
like, thank you for trusting me.
I've got trusting face. I have eyes so wide that look like, tell me all your secrets. I want to know who hugged you too much and who didn't hug you enough. I
Sure.
don't want people to do those things, though. I wish I had resting bitch face. I want people to think I'm mean and stay away from me.
Sure.
You got to work on that then.
I do. I got to work on my scowl, you guys.
Yeah.
Did I do it?
What was the villain in this movie? He was ADR'd like crazy, but not only him, like in other scenes with Dakota Johnson, like
Yeah.
there was ADR, there was like over the shoulder shots where you wouldn't even see her, but you would just kind of hear like her voice, and it's like, oh, this was patched together like crazy.
Also, truly, and from the bottom of my heart, what was that guy's deal? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, someone pointed out, like, he has some line about, like, she's going to destroy everything I built.
It's like, what have you built?
What? What do you do?
He has like a
Who
nice
are you?
loft.
Yeah.
Who are
and a
you?
spider tank.
Yeah.
Well, some of us have had to work for what we get when he's justifying like stealing the spider, right? What happened that's so bad? Why do you need that spider? How will that make you money? And then and then the just throwaway line of like he was cursed. With what? A bad attitude?
The vision of the future. Every single
Like-
night he sees his death, which
Grow
but-
up. So do all of us.
What?
Yeah.
I don't. That villain. Yeah, he was like, I need the power, right, or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
You don't get it to cure your unborn baby. I
Sure.
get it. And also, these spiders don't seem like they die once they bite somebody. They just kind of bite and
No.
then just kind of move on. So, like, he had that spider as a pet. I'm assuming the same spider that bit him, right? That gave him
Yeah,
the
for
powers?
Yeah.
30 years. He kept that spider for 30 fucking years.
Is it like his pet? You know what I mean?
No, it's like a source of power, I guess.
But he took it out of the tank. Remember? He was just like
Yeah, and he's like, hey.
playing with it.
Hey,
Because that's what villains do, and this is a lazy movie.
But like, and then later, I mean, all those, there's so much weird stuff in this movie. So
Did you guys love that there was film developed and labeled from their time in the Amazon?
Oh yeah, where they
Where
just
she
wrote their
died?
names off the back.
Yeah. I
wait,
was like,
what?
so they took the time where apparently Cassie's mother had time to develop her film in the Amazon,
Mm.
keep it
Yeah.
with her things, label it with Ezekiel's name,
And her own
that
name,
away.
if
and
I'm
her
not
own name.
mistaken.
Yep, have all that labeled. And then that's how Cassie's able to be like, oh, he was in the Amazon with my mother.
When
Oh God, what does she say too when she has the flashback? There's actually a line where she's like, I don't have a neuromuscular disease. You know, like how people talk.
Which so in the comics, she does have that. In the cartoon, she does have that, right?
yeah,
I don't understand the logic of saying, hey, we're going to cure her of being a wheelchair bound, degenerative muscular, like going blind ailment, and then have her go there anyway. Was that, am I supposed to walk away with it being like destiny? You can't
in a
escape
smarter
it.
movie, it would be like you can't outrun your destiny, right? In
Yeah.
a smarter movie, this movie just would be better.
Yeah.
So many different ways. But
Did anyone try to explain the plot of this movie to someone who hadn't seen it? Because it does fully feel like when you're explaining a dream, you realize you're an idiot halfway through. You're like, yeah, and then they go to the fireworks factory and they go fight the bad guy and the Pepsi sign falls over and it hits the bad guy and then she gets hit in the face with a firework and puts her in a wheelchair. Like, what?
and then they
I
all
was
fight
trying to
crime.
explain it to my husband and he was just like, are you serious?
Did he not see it with you?
No, he's out of town this weekend.
Oh, seeing it elsewhere.
No, he didn't. No.
He was like, man, with Amy's stunning review, I got to run to the theater right
But it did.
now.
It truly, I've yet to be able to tell someone about this movie and not feel like it's one of those like, and then you were there, but it wasn't you, but I knew it was you. Like it has the same energy.
Yeah. Well, that's how you can tell a bad superhero movie, right? And then this happened. And then this happened.
And Sydney Sweeney was there, but her boobs were really covered up for some reason. And
Because she was like a kid. Because this is okay. this was an origin story.
Yeah.
Why?
What? Do they have powers? I don't know.
So they're supposed to, but we don't see how they're going to get them.
They don't
And I know
have them
Yeah.
in this
Yet.
movie yet.
I hate it here.
The director has talked about how she didn't want to do so many like things with these origin stories and introductions. It was like, no, that's the reason why we all wanted to see this, was to see these people get superpowers.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me.
Then maybe
And, like-
don't do an origin story superhero movie.
Yeah. Well, and Julia Carpenter, who Sydney Sweeney plays, is a really interesting character. She's the second Spider-Woman after Jessica Drew. She actually becomes the second Madam Web,
Yeah.
where the powers get passed on to her. So like, there's some really fucking cool
Does
shit
she
you could do if
Also
you
get
made
hit in the
this a
face with a
thing.
firework.
No, but
No.
weirdly, like blindness is part of what gets passed on to her, which
Blindness is the curse
Feels-
of the
the precognitive thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Great.
which does feel like maybe in 2024 we don't do that move. I don't know. Of
Is
being
it
like,
supposed
you're
to harken to
cursed with
Greek
this.
mythology?
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be kind of like Cassandra and all that.
Yeah.
But it's you could do some really cool shit here if you actually had the balls
Fucking
to do
name's
it.
Cassandra. Okay, cool. I get it. I'm here. I'm here. And her last name is Webb. No, that one I caught.
But with two B's.
The second piece for bad.
Let's talk about Sydney Sweeney. All these characters are younger in this because then they play characters who are 10 years older, 5 years older, later, like
Yeah.
the point of it, and then like she shifts her personality, her personality shifts, I guess, to be more confident in this movie. What's up with Sydney Sweeney?
I feel like she tried, honestly.
She did.
I will give Sydney Sweeney, she was trying and she felt like she existed in this world, right?
Okay.
Of, this is scary. I'm trying to get along with people. I am a very nervous, uncomfortable kid.
Yeah.
I wish my dad loved me. Like, those
Girl, I get
things
it.
felt true, right?
I could have played this role. Shit.
Amy, you would have been magnificent.
And you might have actually bought me as a frumpy person.
How
Well,
do
that
you?
is part of it. Is like she's not. We can't do the
You can-
Rachel Lee Cook. We can't do the. And once her glasses come off, I bet she'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that again. This feels very 2003 at that. What if we just tie her shirt around her waist and then we'll realize she's hot
When I
as
felt
she's been
kinda-
running around in a miniskirt.
And then there is the weird, like, we have her shirt pinned up to here, which, like, again, I'll fucking say it. Come on, we came to see Sydney Sweeney. Let the girls out a little. But then we put her in the shortest mini skirt and the thigh-highest socks. And it's like, oh, I feel like we are still really, like, we're not, but then we are totally sexualizing her. Like, this is still very fan servicey in a way that's like, are we doing this or are we not doing this? Because if they're supposed to be high schoolers, let's not.
I don't
Yeah,
know-
it was just a
yeah.
weird casting choice because it's like we do all know Sydney Sweeney is this kind of sex symbol it girl right now, and it was just like, you're not fooling us.
Yeah.
Do we
I did
believe
like-
Sydney Sweeney is a good actress? Is there enough out there that we can?
I think she's good at her specific thing that she's been doing right now.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
she makes sense for what she did in White Lotus. She
Yes.
makes sense in Anyone But You. Euphoria, like, she
I would
plays
put
that
her in-
character really well.
It's what I think of as kind of the January Jones camp of actress, where it's
Oh.
like, if you are cast correctly, you are wonderful. I don't know how much else you could do, but you are great in this niche that you found.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the girl whose shirt just said math, so you knew she liked math. She's behind you.
Yeah.
there.
No,
mean,
I
she-
love her. I love her as an actress, actually.
I'm just like, why the fuck did we put her in a shirt that's just like math?
No, it's
I
not
love-
math. It's math is beautiful. Or
No, it
something.
says I eat math,
eat
for,
math for
breakfast.
breakfast.
Oh, that's
it's
what it is,
right
yeah.
behind
Yeah.
you.
I
Yeah.
can't see. It's not literally right behind me.
I did like that they Power Rangered everybody, where it was like, hey, you see how Sydney's wearing black and white? You see how she's wearing yellow? That's what their powerful costumes are going to be color coded as too. Oh,
I didn't
Someone-
real. Wait, no, wasn't Isabella Merced's costume green?
It's gold.
Is it?
It's got some gold on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Someone said, someone pointed out, why did Dakota Johnson make them all sleep in one bed like Huey, Dewey, and Louie? Which did bug the shit out of me. Of like, there's 2 queen beds, and you're making 3 girls all sleep together, and you get your own bed.
I think it could be just like, oh, they don't want an adult sleeping with a child that isn't like there. I mean, I'm just coming up with this.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
you're probably right.
Yeah.
But it's dumb.
Would this movie have made more money if like Sydney Sweeney slept in the same bed as Dakota Johnson? Is that
It wasn't what I was
they
implying. But
lean into that? Is
I
that all
wasn't
you care about?
saying they
Amy,
should,
is the
like,
money?
have a pillow fight and cuddle. I'm just saying, if I had 4 people in 2 beds, one of us goes under the covers, one of us goes on top. It's fine.
What, one person goes underneath the bed?
That's what made
Under
makes
the
me do.
covers. Like Chris and I.
Actually,
We share a bunk bed,
We share a bunk bed.
but we sleep
I
on the
go-
top bunk together, and then we just go on the bottom bunk to tell each other secrets.
Tell our secrets.
That's
But I
good.
always stay above the covers because
Yeah.
Gotta
She knows
keep it
what happens
professional.
if she gets under us.
That can mean so many things. I am a fan of Isabella Merced, though. I don't know if you've seen the Dora the Explorer movie.
No.
oh, that's her?
Yeah. Like, she's
Okay.
really good. She has comedic timing. And I thought, like, honestly, out of everybody in the movie, I thought she was the best actress.
All 3 of those girls I would put in the, I think you're doing fine. I think this is just impossible dialogue to sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, all 3 of those younger girls, there was a bit of if you popped up in something else, I wouldn't immediately go, "Ugh, you were so bad in Madam Web." It's like, yeah, I don't really know what you're capable of. This just wasn't a good showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the actress playing Maddie having to say, now you're really showing off 3 times in a row.
When did she
Like,
say that?
In the fireworks part
Oh.
where it was just like, now you're just showing off. Not yet. Now you're really showing off. Now you're really showing off. Like it's such asinine dialogue that what do you do with it?
The fact that this movie culminates in a fight in a fireworks factory is so fucking funny.
I'm gonna be honest. I fell asleep in that end part, like a little bit. Like I was in and out, and I would wake up and go. It'd be like fire, and I'd be like, oh, okay, now I guess. Okay, now I'm in. How did we get here?
Well, it was the fireworks factory from earlier where they show up to help fight
Yeah.
the fire. Yeah.
Where the chief is like, nah, it's okay, I'll drive.
I'm a drive.
That was Mike Epps, and I wish better for Mike Epps than to be in this movie.
Truly.
He's
I
the-
same for Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the fact that the entire climax of this movie, that you have the birth happening, but then the birth literally disappears on its own side plot, like that it's in no way connected, that it's like, oops, we have these girls with the pregnant lady who the guy's trying to kill, so just separate them. Why was any of the why?
I was actually, weirdly enough, excited about this movie like a long time ago because I had heard that the plot was more like Terminator. And this could have either be rewritten or just false. So I'm not saying that this was actually what it was, but this pitch sounded way better. Essentially, that the main villain went back in time to kill Peter Parker as a baby.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Yeah. I had heard that it was kill Mary before she had him.
Okay. So,
Which is way more interesting.
I mean, it is a ripoff of Terminator, but I would have preferred that. If Sony is going to be making these god-awful movies, just rip off another movie and then do it. It's fine.
Steal from something actually good, and maybe this will at least be okay.
Like, one of the best thrillers of all time. Like, Terminator. Not Madam Web. Like, rip that off.
Too
Yeah,
late.
that's
They've
fine.
clipped this out. They're telling people.
Oh,
They're
no.
like, well,
They have my
on the
quote.
Keeg show, they said.
And your
Yeah.
face. And
being
the
like-
trailer just pauses on your face and goes, that's this man's opinion. It's what he said.
Let's talk some positives.
Where and how?
Yeah, tell me, were there positives? Were there things that were actually enjoyable, worth talking about?
Like I said, I was personally not bored. And part of that was just how much kind of worse and weirder can this get? But I wasn't bored. It didn't feel like oh God, check my watch. What time is it? We're still going. I know a lot of people would disagree with me on that, but I will give it that. Like, it was a bad movie. And I've seen a lot of debates on is it worth seeing? Is it so bad it's good, or is it just bad? And I found it on that this is terrible and entertaining spectrum of, like, if someone wanted to, like, go get some drinks and go see it. I don't think I'd see it again, but I'd be like, yeah, you might have a good time if you go in with the right mindset.
Yeah. I think Adam Scott tried his darndest to do like what he could with this. And I enjoyed the idea of him being Uncle Ben. It was, that is absolutely who I could see being a younger Ben, especially because then my headcanon was like, I could absolutely see him and Marissa Tomei together. That all would have made sense. I hope that kind of carries through. That would be lovely for him. My favorite thing was probably when the gentleman in the Amazon said, "Do you trust me?" after he and Cassandra got to hang out for all of 5 hot seconds, and then he shoved her in a pool. That whole sequence was very hilarious dialogue-wise to me and everything. It had the potential to have a really tender moment between the mom and the daughter there, right? But again, dialogue just kind of weighed it down. Truly the best thing about this movie was if you see it at a Regal, there is a Arachnean margarita that you can get. It's a salty watermelon margarita, and that was the highlight of my trip. It was delicious.
I did like when she drove an ambulance through the wall of, I guess, a parking garage on the 2nd floor and hit the bad guy with the ambulance. That was pretty fun.
That was fun.
But it was like unironically
into, like, if he just stayed, it would have gotten over him.
It was super dumb, but it was like almost an unironic, like, I like that happened. Yeah. And I do. I love that the finale takes place in a fireworks factory. That's so weird and stupid, and I love it.
People online can't believe, because they had released the clip of, like, when she first like dies and she like sees all these like clues to the future. People online can't believe that the S is just a reference to Pepsi.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's the S in Pepsi. Of course it is.
What could be more natural?
I love that the P in Pepsi saved the day.
I will say too, that or that baby shower scene, that does capture the spirit of being at a baby shower. Like, it does feel that horrible and awful.
Yeah.
And so they did a great job on that. And the Spider Women's costume design, I think, was actually really well done and well executed. And
for the 12 seconds we saw it,
it was great. And I think, again, that's one of the things that really bugged me was, no, I have the promise of this. Give me this. This is way more interesting.
It bugged you?
It did bug me. That film was caught in a web of its own lies.
I wish we saw more of the costumes. I like the costumes. This movie should have just been her Why couldn't it just be her training like some new, like a Ninja Turtles sort of thing? She's Master Splinter, and then she has the 3 turtles, you know?
I like that it was set in 2003. Just made me a little weird and nostalgic and just a good little like.
Yeah.
But like an origin story? Like a prequel almost?
Yeah.
To the greatest superheroes the world has ever seen? The spider people?
Well, I feel like if you're gonna, because from the jump, I was just like, why are we doing a Madame Web movie? I don't understand this at all.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if you are going to do this, then just make it about Madame Web. Make it about her learning about her cognitive abilities. Make it about her getting some other kind of quest that ties into the spider universe, but not with like 3 potential spider people plus Peter Parker. And then at the end of it, you can have this kind of hint of her big power, at least in the comics and in the animated series, is she can see all the timelines. So then you have the potential to talk about those other spider people and hint at, like Spider-Verse does, oh, all these other ones exist. Am I ever going to have to deal with Spider-Man Prime? And am I going to be the one who finds out who that is to lead all of this when there's some big Secret Wars level event? Like, there's just some cool stuff you can do if you want her to be the focus.
Yeah.
Like, precognitive abilities, those are fucking rad. That's a really cool thing to do. How you make it this uncool takes effort.
Yeah. The amount of missteps this movie does. Not only the precognitive abilities, the ability that doesn't make sense to me, she's like, I can be in multiple places at once. And like...
I can Doctor Strange astral project and grab you. Like
multiple... Well, she grabs one, and then to Maddie Franklin, she goes, are you okay? Or whatever. Like, she doesn't help her. She's just like, hey, I'm okay. What?
Sometimes we need words of affirmation. All right?
You can do it.
Just, you got this.
That's what I would do if I could astral project. Just appear next to my friends and be like, what's that? This is fucking cool, right? I love the part where she meets the girls. And again, like how people talk, they're like, I'm Maddie Franklin. You know, how you introduce yourself to people with your first and last name.
I do that a lot. But that's because people call me Kris Carr. People like two syllables.
I've actively watched you say, hi, I'm Kris.
That's fair. I'm just saying. Sometimes
it's just a weird way to...
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to point out that Kris Carr, I like the alliteration. And so that's very comic book.
It's a good one. It's a very comic book name. My husband's last name is Peets, and Chris Peets sounds like something that you eat when you're stoned and regret.
Crispy Eats.
Yeah, you're like, I had so many Crispy Eats last night. Fuck. Yeah. No, it's a terrible name.
Crispy Eats by Dre.
I need to get in on that deal. The branding. Shit.
What?
Speaking of...
Oh, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of branding, we need to acknowledge the only thing I knew going into this movie, which was Dakota Johnson cannot open a soda can.
Oh, yeah.
That was wild.
Does she try, or does she just not open it?
No, twice she gets handed a can of soda and like for minutes with an S, minutes. Just, and like once, I feel like at least once she really like gets her finger kind of on the tab and then decides that's too much.
I wasn't paying attention to it. People had brought it up.
It was wild. Two different occasions.
A part that I did like is actually the Final Destination sort of thing that they were doing. I think that was like the only enjoyable part about this movie to me was, but it could have been done in a different way. But like just the Final Destination, like they're gonna die. She sees it. She tries to stop it, and like it happens twice on the subway and in the diner, and like I don't think it overstays its welcome. I would have liked a third time, but like the movie doesn't run on that. It just kind of like happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the main villain just climbing on walls and stuff.
A third effort would have been cool. Or if we just got a repeat of, okay, wait, this time I got it. And just doing those micro choices to try to get through it. Because what was good about that is they didn't shy away from the violence of it. And those girls got their necks and spines snapped. And I always find that to be a really brave thing in comic book movies of, oh no, we're going to show you them dying horrifically. Like, we're going to make you feel uncomfortable and that this person does need to be saved so they don't die that way. Because so many times we either have an off-screen death or it's someone just being like,
Yeah.
It could have been a really cool device.
But they didn't utilize that at all. Why did the villain wear a costume?
That's a great question.
He wasn't a costumed villain. Like, he wasn't, as far as we know, out doing other things.
Well, he changed so fast. So fast. Does he have the onesie, like, just around his waist and then he can just go, whee? because he didn't have his collar buttoned as much as Sydney Sweeney did. We would have seen a little bit of that guy poking out there, a la Superman.
Also,
I feel like
he just has a fancy car too.
Yeah.
That's how he gets
you
around.
really I mean, if you're putting on that costume, if your ultimate goal is not to be murdered by 3 superhero girls, maybe don't put on a supervillain costume.
Yeah.
That feels like step 1.
I shouldn't dress like these spider women who are going to come kill me.
But an evil version.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even if I didn't know shit about you, if I was one of them and I saw you, I'd be like, I feel like I'm probably supposed to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Feels like the vibe. He's dressed as an evil version of me. This can't be good.
I can't believe I didn't even question that he was wearing a suit.
There's so much in this movie that makes no sense. Like, it was one of those, it was really fun to go back and like read people talking about it on Reddit and stuff, because I was by myself and I was sober and I was very much almost doing more work than the movie deserved, of kind of filling in gaps and kind of going, well, that's a little bit of a leap, but I guess, okay, whatever. And so watching people break down, wait, yeah, what? Like, there were so many that, I feel like I'm still finding them of like, wait, what? Why did that happen?
People online brought up the fact that, like, so in the future, Ben's nephew puts on a suit like the guy who tried to kill his uncle's friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, connecting them really does nothing. Also, I like the part where there is definitely a moment at the end where she's sort of like, tee, you're going to have to take care of this kid. Like, you're going to, like, whoa, lady. Like, she's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Right. Well, she also does the thing. Well, there's also an illusion. She goes, you're going to get, what did she say? You're going to get shot in Queens, or like, you've never been shot in Queens, or something like.
Right. That's what I'm
Never
saying.
been
She like
shot at
kind of
Queens.
jokes about some of the shit that's going to go wrong.
Before she gets the power. She just jokes about it.
Oh, that's right.
It's in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Funny movie.
That's also the
Good
problem.
joke.
The problem is, like, movies without the plot device of people seeing the future have what's called foreshadowing. This movie foreshadows and tells the future.
Yeah. I also like when
How do you have both?
Mary's like, the baby's jumping all around in here, and does everything but look directly at the camera and go, do you get it?
How many times do they talk about responsibility and power?
Someone in my theater, when he was, what's the fucking awful line that's when you accept a great responsibility, great power will come. And someone in the back of my theater definitely fully just was like, oh, come on.
It was a big boo moment.
Ugh.
Yeah.
There's also the idea that, like, there's a group of spider people in the Peruvian rainforest that Spider-Man culturally appropriates from. It's like, oh, but he also doesn't know of those people, so
Right.
But there are randomly just spider people in
the Amazon.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy down there. We don't know what they're doing.
Where were you? Where were you when Gwen Stacy was falling to her death? I blame those
the Amazon.
The
they told
Amazonian
us.
spider people. I don't know. There's a lot in this movie to the point where, like, yeah, how much more can we talk about this? I don't think this is worth even a rewatch, which is also a bad part about, like, even a bad superhero movie can be rewatchable. Like, I rewatched X-Men Dark Phoenix. And, like, I didn't like it better the second time, but I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Is this movie rewatchable?
I think if you give it kind of the Room treatment, if you
Yeah.
make it so there's call and responses, if it is to take all the air out of it, if it is, for those who want to participate, a drinking game, that kind of thing, I think you can make it into that, because it does have that Morbius meme ability. And that's the only thing, honestly, going for this movie right now is everyone talking about how bad it is I think going to at least kind of move the needle for some people of, oh, I'm going to go see it because it's so awful. Like when I posted my review of it, I got a whole bunch of responses of just, oh, if it's that bad, I have to see it for myself.
Yeah.
And I think this has the potential to be like what meme stock was for AMC, Madam Web could be for Sony.
Yeah, because I've missed a ton of the like Sony, some of those DC movies, like the ones that are just pretty universally like, it's not great, you know. But things like this, I might have seen. I basically went and saw it because I knew I was doing this. But
Same.
hearing these reviews, I might have done I have a list if I have a free afternoon, or I have a friend who wants to go giggle at it. Cool. Or yeah. So I think there's that, but I think it's rewatchable with the right group of people under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
My big thing about this movie, it's like neither here nor there. Like I feel like there are worse movies. Like The Flash is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in like my life. The Flash is god awful. But The Flash, there are moments in The Flash that are better. Like that are like you could technically rewatch The Flash, even though I wouldn't recommend it. But like the peaks are higher than this movie. This movie just casually sits like down here. It doesn't like the most amazing part of the movie doesn't spike up. Just kind of, you know?
The Flash doesn't suffer from as many logic problems. It definitely suffers from like a villain problem, and it suffers from trying to do too many things. But it also had Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And there were some saving graces, and that at least like the Flashpoint storyline makes sense to that world, where so much of this storyline was, but why?
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. The Flash movie hurt me though. It
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
I showed it for a friend, and I was just like, look, she hadn't seen the movie, so I was like, we're gonna watch the last 15 minutes of this movie. Tell me what you think this movie is. And like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Amy?
Oh, I was just gonna say, just speaking to the quality of this film, I had a very weird film experience too. The people behind me were not being obnoxiously loud, but just like whispery quiet, where you can hear that you can't hear what they're saying, but you could hear what they're talking. I fucking hate that. Just don't fucking go to a movie. But it was so
that might have been me. I'm sorry.
But it was that like, I want to shush them, but I don't want them to think I care enough about Madam Web. It's not because I care about this movie. I get it, but also just like don't talk because it's fucking annoying regardless.
Yeah.
Or
That
say
was
it
me
loud
telling
enough for the
Logan
whole
about
class to
David
hear.
Mamet.
Like at that point,
Yeah.
like let's go. Let's all shout shit at the screen. I'd be fine with that too. But it was just that like right in my ear. But I was like, I can't shush them because then they're gonna be like, this bitch really cares about Madam Web.
oh, check this girl out, Madam Web fan club over here.
Shut up.
I was definitely whispering during the movie, not like crazy, because then I also fell asleep. So keep that in mind. I didn't whisper in my sleep. There was a couple to the right of me where that girl seemed to be like, she was laughing at the dumbest joke. Not like ironically, she was like enjoying the movie. And afterwards, she like talked to her guy or whoever, that she was like, this wasn't good, but like it was funny. And I was like, but she meant it like actually. And so I was like,
I love that for you.
Yeah, that's great.
That couple behind me, when the credits rolled, I just heard like, that was so bad. I tried to warn you. Yep.
I would say things like, because I went with my roommate, Justice, and we went and we saw it, and when the P fell, I was like, Pa, I'll name my son Peter. Because they had kept hinting like, I won't tell you what I'm naming him, and then the P fell, I'm like, Peter. Okay, that's how they got his name. It's so dumb. This movie was so dumb. Here's the thing. So Sony, this movie ends with like a quick flash forward and then another flash forward. Flash forward, then a vision. But like the flash forward of like Cassandra Webb is in the wheelchair for some reason. I couldn't figure out why.
Because she got hit in the face with a firework so hard it put her in a wheelchair.
Is that
That's
what it
just
was?
science. That's just science. That's how that happens.
I think so.
By the
I
way,
think that the like firework explosion that blinded her was also supposed to have
Paralyzed her in some way?
severed her spinal cord. I don't
But
know.
it wasn't here. It was like down here. She can still use her hands. So
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor.
Dimithri?
I'm not a doctor. So,
Maybe
again, we talked about this on your guys' episode. Why does everything need an origin story? Lex Luthor's baldness, Xavier's baldness in X-Men.
Jim Gordon's mustache.
Jim Gordon's mustache.
I know that Peter Parker was born. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, do we need the origin of his name? Do we need, like, how does Cassandra Webb go blind? I don't know. Maybe she was just blind. Like,
Sometimes people are just blind. That happens.
why? Why?
Well, and again, don't tell me that she didn't have the muscular degenerative disorder only to have her go through this if you're not going to actually make that a meaningful thing that happens. It's just like oops, we forgot. We got to make her look like the comic book.
Right.
I hate it. I hate it so much. And if you look at a movie too, because we've had so many Spider-Man movies, right?
Yeah.
Like Homecoming does a great job of just like, yeah, he's a kid who got bit by a spider and his parents are dead, his uncle's dead. That we all know that in passing. In really easy little things of, your Uncle Ben would have loved this. Your parents would have been really proud of you. He's already fighting crime.
Right.
Like, we know who these people are enough that we can put it together. We don't need you to show us, like, the origin of everything.
And
I
if
think your
I'm
audiences are smarter.
if I'm at Madam Web, I've seen a superhero movie before. I'm familiar with the concept of how these work.
What if this was the first superhero movie for someone?
You would be like, oh, okay, not the genre for me.
Yeah.
How
Also,
have there been so many of these?
I hate this.
also, like, the fact that, like, each character essentially just would state their Wikipedia entry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have two parents, but they're both dead. Well, I have two parents that do not care about me. They are in Beijing right now.
Oh, the
and
tragedy Olympics
I was like,
that,
what?
that they all get into for a while.
Yeah.
I'll just call my Uncle Jonah.
Does she meet? She's talking about J. Jonah Jameson, right? But, like,
Yeah.
I was trying to look up because I don't know much about Maddie Franklin in the comics. But, like, was she related to J. Jonah Jameson in the comics?
Yeah, she's his niece, I believe.
A
it might
close
be-
friend of her father.
It's one of those of like,
yeah.
Uncle Jonah.
Okay. It's like, okay.
But so these other two Spider Women, though, if I'm not mistaken, are newer, like 90s, 2000s iterations of characters that have come out and like started being added into the mix. And I don't believe had particularly strong receptions comic book wise.
Maddie Franklin, no. So Maddie Franklin was created in the 90s and she was like whatever. Aranya, which is so Anya becomes the superhero Aranya because there's some like spider cult and some sort of thing. She's introduced in like the early 2000s, but then she's the current Spider Girl. And like, yeah, she doesn't, there's not strong reception to her, but like people like the fact that like she's a Hispanic superhero. She's the Spider Girl. She's like swinging around doing her own thing. Every so often she'll pop up. Julia Carpenter was like Spider-Woman for a long time.
Yep.
And then now she's Madam Web. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what I would get at here.
I don't know. I just also feel like maybe do Silk, like do a different Spider person like that,
or Jessica Drew,
or Jessica
Spider-Woman.
Drew. Yeah, people loved that character in Spider-Verse.
But that's the problem, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think they were picking characters that won't get solo movies, won't ever, like the MCU won't want. Because that's the thing, like this is not the MCU, which I thought was pretty self-explanatory, but like Sony doesn't think so. Sony's that like ex-boyfriend that, you know, like, yeah, we've been going out for 15 years. It's like, we broke up in like, 6 months. Like, Sony is delusional to think that their choices are going to affect the MCU.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but Silk was supposed to have her own show, like
Oh, I didn't know that.
an Amazon series.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, is linked to the Avengers, but like I don't know when they're gonna ever use her.
But also, who isn't? Everyone has been a fucking Avenger at some point in Marvel. Everybody, everybody and their mom.
But Sony only has the Spider rights.
Yeah.
Do you think they thought they were fucking going somewhere with these three girls having a spinoff? Like their own movie or their own show, or especially getting like Sydney Sweeney and some bigger names for those. Yeah.
I
definitely think they thought they were going to do a sequel to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with that last scene, that vision of the future where they all have a superhero team thing where for some reason Madam Web has a costume with big goggles. They definitely thought they were going to do like this was people would be clamoring for a sequel.
Yeah.
But you know.
Well, Dakota Johnson recently fired her agent, so maybe
she fired her agent on the day the trailer got released.
Oh. Cool. Do you think she's giving up acting?
No,
she has a new agent.
Yeah, she went from WME to CAA.
One can dream.
Yeah.
So
look, she read Helen for Filth, and for that I will always salute her.
Oh, is that the one where like, why wasn't I invited to your birthday party? Was it that thing?
Yeah.
Of the Ellen, that's not true.
Yeah. We're not gonna get a Madam Web sequel, but supposedly this year we're getting 2 more Sony movies, and then as far as we know, that's it. But they've been in talk for like the Bad Bunny, like starring Bad Bunny. Like there was a El Muerto movie.
El Muerto. Is that still happening though? I thought that got scrapped too.
It got scrapped. So Bad Bunny fell out, and then supposedly they're back to doing it, but they're gonna pick somebody else.
Okay.
But they were supposed to do like a disco, not Disco Dazzler. What's his name?
The Donald Glover one.
A Hypno Hustler. Yes.
Yeah.
Donald Glover, Hypno Hustler. Like, these are all characters that nobody knows about. Even, like, hardcore comic book fans have to be like, oh, I read about him in the encyclopedia. Which is me.
It feels like Sony wants their Guardians of the Galaxy so bad.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no one except pretty hardcore fans knows who this is, but it's your new favorite team.
Yeah.
Like, they want that so badly for themselves.
We get Kraven the Hunter and Venom 3 this year, supposedly.
Riches upon riches, blessings upon blessings.
Have you seen the trailer for Kraven?
Yes. So, honestly, pretty decent trailer aside from, once again, we are changing stories and we're giving people powers when we don't need to. Where in this one, he's got some lion blood in him, and that makes him all powerful, and he's got superpowers now from a lion. No. Also, my little insider info on this is, like, when they were showing us that trailer, that first rough cut of it at CinemaCon, I had friends letting me know their writer buddies were being brought on to change that. Of like, oh no, this script is like not done.
Like for Kraven?
And this was in April of last year when they were showing us footage. So I feel like the whole rewrite thing with Sony is just this ongoing thing too, of just like, no, let's just keep messing around with it. We'll figure it out as we're doing it. We'll do it on the job. We'll do it on the day. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Like,
we'll do it afterwards. Come here and record these new lines.
Yeah.
No, they don't need to match. It's fine.
And obviously, like, this isn't limited to Sony. Marvel does this too. They almost scrapped Captain America and are doing reshoots of that, right?
Yeah.
But if it's with every single one of your properties that this keeps happening, maybe you're the problem?
Yeah.
I can't be excited about Kraven. I just don't understand, too, like, why you'd... Again, why this story? Why would you do this? One of the cool things about him is that he's this hunter who wants to hunt the most dangerous game. So he goes after Spider-Man. He goes after Venom. Those are more compelling stories. I don't really want to learn about his fucking dad issues and how some lion blood got in his body. And now he wants to fuck up stuff.
The things I like. I don't need to know where they came from.
Yeah.
every villain getting an origin story, and then also like is the goal to do a Sinister Six movie. But then without Spider-Man, that's the problem with all these movies. They all should hinge on Spider-Man. Why aren't they? Like Venom being his own character outside of Spider-Man, never being linked to Spider-Man, is the weirdest thing to me.
It's odd. But
then making Spider-Man such a weird shadow over this movie. It was like, why?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it constantly feels like they're afraid to include Spider-Man. Where it's just like, I mean, you guys know that he's here, but not really. Because
he's in that he's just behind that curtain.
Yeah.
He can't come out today, but what's that?
Like, Morbius, there was supposed to be more of that. Like, we were supposed to have a world with Morbius where Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker and Spider-Man existed and were fighting crime, and that was supposed to be like not pulling your punches Spider-Man was supposed to exist there.
Yeah.
And then they like cut all that shit out. So you have a Spider-Verse with no Spider-Man. And you feel it.
It's so weird. There has to be some contractual things that their deal with Marvel. I'm sure there has to be like Marvel Studios put a line in the sand. Like, I guess you can take everything west of the Mississippi, but we have this part, you know?
Yeah. That would make sense. Yeah.
I'm sure they're jumping through hoops, but at that point, if you got to jump through those hoops, do you really think you're going to make a quality product? I don't know. But we're getting Kraven and Venom 3 this year, supposedly.
Well, it kind of reminds me of all the weird, like, theme park line drawing. Like, you can have this, but not this.
I mean, it is kind of. It's very... They're linked, too, because Marvel's Islands of Adventure in Florida can have Marvel.
Yeah.
But which means Disney World can't have Marvel unless it's MCU specific.
Yes, which is why they can have that ride and nothing else. And we have, Avengers Campus out here.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. I'll find a way to link it to theme parks. Just you watch me.
We should all go to Marvel's Islands of Adventure.
I just went on my honeymoon. It was fucking amazing.
Well, have another honeymoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll get a divorce. I'll remarry him.
Don't marry anyone other than Eric, please.
No, I would hate that.
I like the idea of you having like a Liz Taylor repeat wedding, though.
I do want an excuse to ride that Spider-Man ride again because it was pretty baller.
I went when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
No, 9th grade. I have a picture, but it's
prove it.
It was wild to ride a Spider-Man ride from like the late 90s and go, oh, the new one they built in California, not good.
Oh, I haven't been to Avengers Campus, weirdly enough.
Oh, I had fun, but you're tired after it because you're
the tech is cool, but that's really all it, because it's a shooting ride, but you can just do this and it scans your body and it knows what you're doing. But don't get me started. Basically, it's just one of those where the gameplay is like, I just am doing this as fast as I can. I'm not really processing like, wow, I'm shooting at this thing, or I'm,
Yeah.
Whereas in Florida, you get a ride where you're actually like, I'm on an adventure with Spider-Man, which is what I want. I don't care about shooting webs.
Yeah. I want to shout out a couple of people before we get going. On Instagram, I asked what people's thoughts were on this movie. Alec Belante says easily the funniest comedy of all time. I think this movie would have benefited from more comedy. At least just lean into that.
I just wish I heard some people talking about being in theaters where fully people were like yelling shit and laughing. I wish I got one of those. I think I would have liked it even more.
Like get the full Rocky Horror experience.
Yes, fuck it. We all know it's bad. It's fine.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody on our Twitch chat. 50 Shades of Tay obviously was here earlier, but says can't wait to go watch Madam Web with Chris and Amy tonight.
So excited. So excited.
Are you guys actually gonna go see it again?
No, God no.
Okay.
Christ,
die
no.
first.
Just get really wasted. Just really.
I mean,
like do a whole drug cocktail and see what happens. That's your spider serum.
I feel like we should disclaim that we're not encouraging anyone to do that.
Yes, don't do that. Don't do that. But if you do,
kids,
you can bill Sony for your legal fund.
For your hospital stay?
Yeah, and
hey kids,
and
you know who never does drugs? Spider-Man.
Yeah. Amanda Noriko says, hello, Chris and Amy.
Hey, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Alec from State Farm says, I feel like there's some villains that can work on their own without Spider-Man, but they keep taking fundamental characters that are so intertwined with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I would agree with that
That's
assessment.
fair.
That's smart, Alec. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Alex says Cosmic Rewind at Epcot is amazing.
What's
Correct.
that?
That's the, I have talked to you extensively about this. That is the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot.
Oh, it's called that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's maybe the two Guardians of the Galaxy rides on either coast are tied for my favorite theme park attraction
Oh.
for different reasons.
I haven't been to Disneyland in years, and it's weird because I live right next to it, but
Yeah.
like, I haven't been there. I haven't gone to Galaxy's Edge or Avengers Campus. Like, the last time I went, those didn't exist. So
Have you done the Guardians ride there? Have you been since they?
No.
It's phenomenal. They're
It's
very
just
different
Tower of
rides.
Terror, right?
It's so good.
It's really
Okay.
good.
The
It's really,
retheme
really
was.
good.
You're about to get me started on my favorite Imagineer, Joe Rody, and we're gonna be here for a while. So I'm gonna skip it,
All right. We'll
but
keep
it's
that for
real
another
fucking
time.
good. It's real fucking good.
Alec from State Farm thinks that an Agent Venom movie could work because it's not necessarily a movie that needs Spider-Man.
That's true.
Yeah, I can see that, but that's predicated on the fact that like Eddie Brock is intertwined with Spider-Man, and then the symbiote goes to Flash Thompson. So, you know, but I don't know. Alec also says Joe Road supremacy.
Joe Rody.
The Joe Rody, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we have a
Oh, you-
supremacist in our chat.
We're pro Joe Rody. Joseph Rosif,
Rody
the
supremacist.
best. I love that.
I don't know who Joe Rody is.
He's an Imagineer, Dimithri. He's the Imagineer behind Animal Kingdom, behind the redo of Tower of Terror to Guardians of the Galaxy. He did all of like Avatar Land. He's fucking fantastic at his job. He now works for, I think, Virgin Airlines. He doesn't work at Disney anymore, but he did some really good stuff.
Okay. Cool.
He's got a big old earring thing. That's Joe Rody.
I feel
If you're
like
ever watching him,
I'm missing out on a lot by not knowing who he is.
he's just a very talented Imagineer
Okay.
who
With
did
a big ear.
ton. Yes.
Cool.
Well, like a big, like one of those that like stretches your ear way out.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna have to look him up.
Like if you ever watch anything on like Disney Plus about like those shows that are just like, you know, Disney advertisements, but that feel entertaining and heartfelt.
Yeah.
If you see that guy, you will know who I'm talking about.
Okay. What are our final thoughts for Madam Web before we get going? Does anyone have
Go
any closing?
see it. Go live, laugh, love, and web.
Can I Amy already knows this, but we didn't cover the thing I hated most in this movie. Was that those three girls left an open fire in the woods and
That did
just
bug me.
walked away from it to
Yeah.
a diner. I was furious and I couldn't stop focusing on it for like 15 minutes, which I think speaks to the caliber of this movie.
Yeah.
Go see this with people who will take the mickey out of it, who will laugh, who will talk at the theater. Obviously, if it'll be respectful in your theater too, don't ruin the experience for everybody. But if you guys
For
can
all
have like
those
a fun, big
Madam
thing
Web lovers.
for the Madam Web lovers,
Yeah.
if you can just make it a really raucous, fun event, try your darndest. Because yeah, I think if you're yelling at the screen, if you're doing all those come-ons, what is this? Oh my God, I can't believe they said that, groan about it. I think it'll be a funner time.
If you're at an AMC and Nicole Kidman gets a round of applause, you're going to have a great showing.
Yes.
If it's pretty quiet, yeah.
Yeah. I can't recommend this movie, but I do think that if you are gonna see this movie, you got to see it soon because it's not gonna stay in theaters that long. Like I went to an opening night and there were like 10 people in our huge Dolby, like theater. 10 people, 15
What
people.
a waste of Dolby. Ew.
I was like, if I'm gonna see this movie, I'm gonna see it. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it big time, which is free because AMC A-list. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter either way. So I'm gonna see it on the biggest screen with the craziest sound, so I can hear the beauty that is this movie. You know?
Yeah.
This show brought to you by Dolby. but
Sponsor.
you should
And
probably see it
Pepsi.
soon. You know, and Pepsi Cola.
The best of the colas. Let me have one.
It's almost like I'll take one.
She was all but
Pass.
doing ASMR.
Yeah.
Shit with it.
That's
Where you like da, 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 da.
I
I don't know why I held that up to my real microphone. Like you could
I need
space work ASMR.
yeah, Amy's over there being a full Foley artist.
Yeah.
Doing all her thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like to yuck people's yum. So if people like this movie, it's great. And it is what it is.
All 13% of you who did give it good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, this is for you.
I think this movie is definitely gonna be a moment in time. You know? Just like just don't confuse it for an MCU movie. Like people are like, this is the end of the MCU. And it's like, this isn't the MCU.
It's easy to make a bad movie. It's pretty impressive to make the worst movie. And for that, I salute them. Because when you embrace big responsibility, big power, she's a coming. I think was what he said. I wish I fell asleep during this. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
It was yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on this podcast episode talking to me about Madam Web. Before we get going though, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
So many things.
So many things.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
We're two filthy casuals. Go find us wherever you get your podcast. That would be
We have
lovely.
a wonderful episode we just dropped recently with Dimithri talking about X-Men Days of Future Past. We are a fandom podcast that attempts to create a safe space for the dum-dums like me of the world. If you love a fandom, if you don't know anything about a fandom, if you want to get into a fandom, we bring people on to talk about the things they love in a judgment-free space, and then usually we make some dick jokes at them. It's a good time. Yep. So that's at Two Filthy Casuals Pod on Instagram and Two Filthy Casuals wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can catch
Patreon.
Yes, and a Patreon. If you just like the vibe of that so much, sight unseen, you want to give us money. If you want to hear me talk about Joe Rohde, more person who is also Team Joe Rohde, we do have an episode dropping tomorrow on our Patreon with me talking very extensively about my honeymoon and how much I love Joe Rohde and how much Animal Kingdom meant to me emotionally. Yeah, you can also catch me right here on Twitch at Legacy of Fools. I am part of a weekly Dungeons and Dragons Twitch stream that is live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and drops on YouTube every Friday. That's Legacy of Fools. Yeah, Chris, you got anything else?
It's Kris Carr on Instagram and only on Instagram. I run a voiceover studio. So if you ever want to get into voiceover, if you want to make a demo, if you want to learn about dialects, you can go to Speak Friend Studio, either our website or our Instagram. Again, Speak Friend Studio. And yeah, we're pretty good at what we do. We have a fun time. And then I'm on a bunch of random movie news shows. So like, you'll find me. Yeah, I'm in these streets. Yeah.
And I'm at amy.n.newman on Instagram.
Both of you are amazing. Thank you,
You are.
Not only for coming on this episode and talking about one of the worst superhero movies, but also for inviting me on your guys' podcast to talk about one of the best superhero movies, which I was very excited to talk about, X-Men Days of Future Past.
We love this synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
Two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know why nobody holds a coin like that. I don't know. Anyway.
You've dropped the coin.
That's how
pretty
you
immediately, no matter what side of your hand it was
This
on,
is when you have a spider from the Amazon. That's how you hold them.
Yeah.
And you just fucked a lady you found at the opera?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy moved fast.
I got really excited though because I was like, "Oh, Crossing Jordan." That's the only thing I remember her from.
Oh.
Is she was
great.
Yeah,
she was the highlight of the movie. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being on here. Thank you to everybody out there on the Twitch chat, whether it be 50 Shades of Tay or Amanda Noriko or Alec from State Farm. Amanda says, "Yay, amazing humans," parentheses, and boo, terrible movies. So thank you.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Hot take, but I agree.
for anyone out there who is watching, this is the Keeg Talks. We talk about a different topic every week. Normally it tends to be TV shows, movies, but it also is topics like upcoming. We're talking about Black characters in fiction. And so we're talking about, that. We got a lot of crazy stuff. Avatar: The Last Airbender that we'll be talking about coming up. This is the Keeg Talks. We also have Comic Talk every Thursday, where we talk about new comic book releases, DC, Marvel, and indie comics, everything that we read that week. And then we have a X-Men related podcast. It's a monthly one called State of X, where we talk about everything that happened in X-Men in that last month. So we just had one episode. It's a new one. We got the second one coming out in a couple weeks. Other than that, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Keeg Show. We're also on Facebook and Threads and Twitter and all that at The Keeg Show /The Keeg Show, pretty much wherever. We also have a new website that is picking up steam at thekeegshow.com. You can find us there, our articles and whatnot. And then we also have a Patreon. If you want to give back to The Keeg, patreon.com /The Keeg Show. But donate to Two Filthy Casuals first, and then come over.
Aww.
And, you guys do Patreon content. We don't. So I don't know, people get more out of your guys' Patreon. So definitely.
Just people helping people. You love to see
It's
it.
for the Joe Rohde fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said
For the
you're a fan of
roadheads
Joe
out
Rogan.
there.
Is that what you said, Amy? Big Joe Rogan fan? Is that what you said?
Love him.
Favorite Imagineer, Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan.
Many times we talk about
He
what
created a
pro man-
ride called "I'm Just Asking Questions." It's great. Well, I'm gonna go to a diner and dance on the table to Toxic to get some boys to pay attention to me.
Oh my
Chris,
gosh.
you wanna come?
Yeah, hold on. I have to get my glasses that I'll take off and shirt to tie.
There we go.
Dimithri, you want in on this?
I'm gonna have to create a Spider-Man outfit and walk on the ceilings and and have horrible ADR. So
All right, big Sunday for all of us.
Yeah,
let's get on it.
Thank you, everybody. Once again, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been the Keeg Talks, Madam Web. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.